Right, we're recording.
Okay, good evening, colleagues. Welcome to the meeting of the Executive Cabinet Member Deputy Leader Portfolio. We have just one item on the agenda, which is Pride in Place Impact Fund. So, Paul, are you introducing this, or is it John yourself?
No, I'm happy to take members through it, and Clive's on the call as well, just in case we need to answer any questions that I can't answer. So happy to take you through it, members.
Yeah.
So the Pride in Place funding covers a number of different areas. It's £5 billion over 250 locations within Bolton. This is particular to Farnworth and Breakmet North. Farnworth, we've already got a board and we're taking that forward. Breakmet North, we're about to try and develop that location and the £20 million worth of funding for Breakmet North. The impact fund aligns with the other sources of funding, and it's £1.2 million over 2 years. But the issue is that by the time the announcements, everything came out and the consultations happened, this is only up till March 27. So we've still got over 12 months to spend the 1.5 million, and anything we don't spend, we need to repay. So we've got to be really keen on delivering this and have projects that are ready to go and can be developed quite quickly. The focus is on deliverability, but also impact. It's capital only, so no revenue, which leads us to identifying projects that can be delivered with capital. And the other critical thing is it's got to focus on those areas that are included in the indices of multiple deprivation. So some locations within the whole of the borough will not be as great a priority because they don't exist within that indices of multiple deprivation. And the focus is on community spaces, public spaces, or high street and town centre revitalisation. So we've got elements of each of those covered within the range of projects that we've looked at. As I indicate, it needs to be visible, have an impact, and not things that the council is required to do in its function anyway, or something that we've already committed to doing. The positive news is that this is part of an ongoing process for investment into the council's already made into parks and other facilities, and that we've been able to work with internal and external partners to identify a much wider range of projects which create a longer term pipeline that can be developed and worked up into deliverable schemes, so that if we end up with something like the impact fund coming up again in the future, then we've got a range of projects that could be developed and worked up into the detail, ready for future funding as well. So that's really positive. These projects have been tested within the teams and are supported by the delivery teams. We're not able to establish the definite final costings on this, so that's why I'm seeking the authorities in the way that I've recommended them, so that we've got a bit of space and a bit of delegation to be able to adjust the projects that we've identified, to ensure that we can deliver them and the money is used in the best possible way. One project that we're still looking at and it is uncertain is the West Horton hub. You know, we have identified that there's an option to allocate some money um, to the West Horton hub for a multi-use games area. We are trying to work that through, but we do have a contingency built in, and we can adjust some of the projects to ensure that we've got as wider a fit as possible. You know, members will know Wellsprings has been included, and this is down to the feedback being provided by the companies looking at Wellsprings and looking at coming into Wellsprings, and we need to put some investment in to get those people into Wellsprings, get the businesses into Wellsprings, get the activity in the town centre, which is part of this funding. Another key area is Victoria Square, and again the opportunity to do some work. We've already done the work on the lighting, done a lot of work on the town hall, but the landscaping and the equipment within Victoria Square does need upgrading, and the trees that have been in there since early 1970s are in need of a lot of work doing to them. People are tripping up over them, and there's a focus on risk associated with the town centre. So that's a key area as well that we can utilise this money for. This will also link in with our Live Well agenda and how we can make sure that these schemes can be activated by other parts of the council. And there's public health funding associated with getting people active. This funding also incorporates mechanisms to get people, or routes to get people active, as well as promoting that on websites, etc. And together with Dwayne and the highways funding and public health funding, we should be able to make a big impact in giving people routes and getting them active in the community, together with, and also our adults team and the children's team are aware of this and are keen to get involved to make sure that we can to get children active and to get them involved in the schemes that we're looking at here to promote and secure schools and other locations to become involved in these projects, and to get the revenue interested or aspect of these funding streams. So the recommendations are that the Cabinet member is recommended to agree the proposed projects to be taken forward to deliver the 1.5 million Pride in Place Impact Fund, delegate to the Director of Place authority to draw down and allocate the funding, authorise Director of Place in consultation with the Exec Cabinet member to amend the projects identified in Appendix 3 in the event that individual projects cannot be delivered within the funding timescales, and authorise the Borough Solicitor to complete all necessary legal formalities and the Borough Treasurer to complete all necessary financial formalities. And the last thing, Councillor Zaman, is the key to this is also we are on a very tight time scale. By the 16th of February, we have to submit the plans for the remaining part of this year and next year to be able to secure the 1.5 million pounds worth of funding. If we miss the 16th of February, then the expectation is that we will have to hand all of the £1.5 million back. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Any questions from members? Councillor Warren?
Thanks, Chair. I've got several, but my first criticism is that you spelt Leverhulme wrong. And obviously, Lord Leverhulme has just turned in his grave.
Thanks for pointing that out.
I am sorry.
Yes, you've spelt it as two words where it is one. And it's been a park for a very long time in Bolton, since 1919. So there are a few kind of bits, really. So in terms of like the Queen's Park, I am in support of the CCTV that is suggested there, just because obviously there is a perception that park doesn't feel particularly safe. One of the questions is that you said that this was capital funding. So what about the revenue implications of having the CCTV in Queen's Park? So that's my first question. I've got some other ones as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so on each of these projects, we have worked with the teams to consider the revenue implications. We can, with the number of officers that we've got within the CCTV control room, and we've upgraded the computer side of things so that there's capacity within the CCTV location to accommodate the extra cameras. So that side of things isn't an issue. And with all the projects, we've gone back to the teams to check on the fact that they can deliver these projects and what the revenue implications are, and those revenue implications can be met within existing structures within the teams.
Thanks, Paul. Councillor Warren, I'll bring you in before I bring David in, because you have a number of other questions. So let's deal with them and then we'll go to David, if that's okay with you, Dave.
Yep.
Yeah, you're on mute. You're on mute, Adele.
There we go. Sorry, apologies. The second question is just about the Moses Gate one, because £350,000 sounds quite significant for the work that's described, but I'm also aware that sometimes that can go nowhere depending on where steps are going, things like that. So will the projects be communicated adequately with the public so that they know, like what's happening, where it's happening, and so that they also think that there's value for money? Because I know it was in the paper last week, and I know I had a few kind of like residents contact me saying that's a lot of money for Moses Gate compared to some of the other ones that were mentioned. So that's my second question, and I've got one more if that's okay.
Yeah, so a lot of work has been done, I think, over a number of years on Moses Gate. So there is some quite substantial pieces of work that are required for Moses Gate. This is I touched on, but it is aligned with a lot of the other investment and also Section 106 that's being delivered right across the borough. So there's £2 million worth of funding into parks that has already been utilised and is being planned through. So the Moses Gate is quite significant capital works that will improve accessibility and is linked to a specific deprived location. So that's why that was identified and prioritised.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, Adele.
And my last one is just about murals. So sometimes they can look really good when they're first done, but then especially if they're painted, they can look quite tatty within a couple of years. So it's also just kind of ensuring that any kind of artwork that's done doesn't kind of just look a little bit tatty in a couple of years, and that it can sustain for quite a while. Because I think that, I mean, there's one on the Sweet Green Tavern, which looked really nice when it was first done, but obviously as the paint started peeling, it's not as impressive now. It looks a little bit tatty. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. There is one that was done in 2020 or 2021 down at Trinity, which is a full double height external gable wall. So we are going to take lessons from, as you say, Sweet Green Tavern or the ones that have been done privately as part of Section 106 contributions down at Trinity. And we've already been out to procure artists because we've been looking at this for the past 6 months. So Sam Elliott has been out to procure some artists, and we've got a number of different artists that could deliver on this. But we'll certainly, be very keen to make sure these are long lasting. Other councils have taken the opportunity, for instance, to put plastic coverings on over the top of them to ensure that if people do try to graffiti over the paintings, then they're easier to clean off. So we are looking at all of that sort of thing to ensure that. But those sorts of things have a huge impact and have a really significant impact. So that's why we've already identified some funding that is coming forward anyway, and this funding will help to build that funding. And like you see in Glasgow and other locations, it can become then a visitor attraction, and if we can build in things like the characters from the various films that have been done over the last few years within Bolton, then it brings that visitor attraction as well.
Thanks, Paul. Councillor Wilkinson?
Thanks, Actor. One or two concerns like Adele's got. I have to say, Queen's Park CCTV, I can understand that. Just going back to the precept of it all, is that again, this will look like this is a Bolton centric issue. For people who live elsewhere in this borough, will say why. I'm well aware why. It is one-off limited funding to deprivation. West Horton has areas of deprivation as well as everywhere else. Orwich probably could say the same, other parts of the north side of Bolton. So I think you need to be careful how you explain this, that this is a bit of a crumb off the table from the government to do some things. I think one of the other issues is how these projects were picked. What is the rationale behind them? What will they achieve? I mean, I've read the summaries of all of these projects. Sounds good, maybe good, but I have to say some of it a little bit vague. And I'll go on to some of those vague ones. Get Bolton moving. Well, basically that's additional top up for the pro work, which is great because we're down to 16,000 roughly, I think, per year for pro work across the whole of the borough. That's good on top of the 200k which went in from the budget last year. But I have to say, this idea it will get lots of people doing lots of things. I'm going to say that's from people who've never walked a definitive footpath, say around West Horton. Some of them do a good impression of the Somme. They're that waterlogged, overgrown, etc. 100k on top of the 200k, it will do quite a bit. We've got 3 footpaths done in West Horton from that, but there's a lot more to be done. So please don't over egg the pudding and make it sound better than what it is. Be realistic. because people will come back and say you're talking baloney. In terms of CCTV in Queen's Park, I'm going to ask a straight question. Will this delay West Orton? Because whilst we've had some good input from some officers at Bolton Council, and last night we agreed to the heads of terms, at times it has been like, well, put it this way, dealing with CCTV from Bolton Council, I'd sooner go to my dentist. It's been that painful and that slow. So I'm hoping Queen's Park doesn't delay West Orton CCTV, because we have waited long enough. And just to remind you, we are covering 2 of your car parks, and you haven't paid us a brass nickel to do any of that work. And we've got a nice bill to pay to Bolton Council. So great that Queen's Park is getting done. Wellsprings, I thought there was a capital programme for Wellsprings. So it seems like we're now shuffling a bit of money from this project to Wellsprings to offset things. That's my opinion at this moment in time, and somebody can convince me less. Moses Gate, I've no problem with that. Good that an area is getting something to open up an area which can be used. The murals, and not murals, I wait to see how long they last, to be quite honest. Newport Arcade is not the most friendliest environment in the world, and the skateboard park, well, I'll give it a few days. At Leverhulme Park, I'm glad that we're trying to improve the facilities on Leverhulme Park. It's long needed, and it is a premier sporting event, and it needs to be improved dramatically. The Town Hall Square, I'm disappointed that basic maintenance work is now being done out of one-off money, when we should have been dealing with it properly instead of just messing about. People have been injured because we didn't take the thing seriously. And the other thing in relation to Victoria Square is the outdoor power units. Great, it says it's going to be events, etc. Is there a plan, a commercial plan for Victoria Square? Because if there isn't, there needs to be one, not just odd event here and there. Other towns and cities where they have an outdoor space have a business plan to drive activity, spin-off activity, spin-off income, etc. And the West Orton Hub, lovely. Would have been nice to have been told about it, because West Orton members might have differing opinions. Because as I said earlier, there are other parts of West Orton which have deprivation. Washacre for a start, Ungerhill, Wingate, where some of those areas have no facilities at all. So one of the things I go back to is the great, but we seem to be just plugging gaps with one-off money, and what is the long-term revenue cost of some of these things. And if we are fortunate enough to get some more one-off money like this, will, by any chance, if it is for deprivation, the outer areas, which are not included at the moment, Orwich, West Orton, north side of Bolton, could be looked at, considered, and maybe ward members involved to give you some input from ward members. Thanks very much for that, Hector.
Thanks, David. Just before I bring Paul in, there's quite a lot to sort of respond to. But Councillor Wilkinson, as you know, we are very much led by the criteria set by the government, and also the deadline, more importantly, set by the government, as Paul explained. Because, you know, if we don't get back by the 16th, as Paul said, this money will have to go back. So that then pushed us to picking some of these projects which are kind of ready to go. But I do get your point, Councillor Wilkinson, that there is deprivation. There are pockets of deprivation in our outer areas, and there needs to be a system to recognise that. And that's an ongoing debate within the regeneration field. And certainly when I worked as an economic development officer, this debate was going on at that time. I can tell you that you know, this is how long this has been going on, but it needs to be addressed. So Paul, are you responding to this? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Zaman. So in terms of Queen's Park, yeah, we can certainly get some focus on West Orton, where that's up to ensure that it's not seen as a delay, so we can get our regen team working with the other parts of the council on the West Orton CCTV, and as I indicated earlier, there is capacity within that hub in terms of the technical capacity, and in terms of there is a lot of work around the footpaths. There's money across the council with public health and through Dwayne's team, so there is that opportunity to give a bit of focus on right across the borough on what is achievable, and there are benefits in terms of and public health benefits in terms of maximising the access to footpaths and promoting the routes and the footpaths. So I think that will be a realistic deliverable scheme that will bring significant benefits right across the borough, because we're working with a number of different departments to maximise the use of this part of the money. Again, I appreciate what you say about the murals. We can certainly, as I indicated previously, we are already looking at how those murals can be protected in the future. In terms of Victoria Square, again, it's we've had to bring in specialist designers to look at what could be achieved in a strategic way with Victoria Square, noting its historic sensitivity, the war memorial, and what's going to happen with Crompton Place, and therefore it isn't necessarily just the maintenance of the tree pits around the trees. Those trees are growing significantly more than would have been anticipated, and we need to do something differently. And this opportunity creates this funding, and the commitment the council's already made to getting designs in place will allow for something different to happen with the trees in that location, which, and the added benefit of that is that it'll become more accessible. It won't be a risk to some of our community who are less able, and that is a priority for Victoria Square, and something we've been wanting to look at for a couple of years now, and now we have the opportunity to do it. We do have a commercial plan. We have started the markets on Victoria Square and on Newport Street, and this is an important part of allowing those markets to develop and to ensure we have the opportunity to bring forward that business plan that you were talking about. Happy to talk about other alternatives to the West Orton hub and to have that detailed conversation. We can pick that up after this. And the revenue costs, again, all of the projects have been looked at to ensure that whilst we're putting capital in, it is aligned with other departments' revenue, and there's all of those costs have to be managed within existing revenue budgets. And again, through you, Chair, happy to after we've started to deliver this, to actually take away and build that wider pipeline of projects that can include some of the other locations in the borough, like West Orton or Horwich, that could be incorporated into other funding that we've got through Section 106 and planning funding that needs to come through, and we can begin to plan for the parks and open spaces to be improved as part of in the long term with some of the funding. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Paul. Councillor Saunders and then Bamford.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've had a couple of technical difficulties, so hopefully you can hear me.
We can
yeah,
hear
I've been
you.
listening in. Oh, brilliant. I've been listening, and obviously at Moses Gate Country Park, I couldn't not mention this. So obviously I want to have my support to this part of the allocation. It comes at the perfect time in the sense that we're already doing many of the let's call them the broadwalks, the jetties, the woodwork, which probably would have been tended to out of neighbourhood services budgets long gone. We also have the Rock Hall project, which is progressing well. We've just announced as a council the activities this year, working with the Wildlife Trust. Last summer we opened the contemplative space just beyond the Red Bridge. So all these things I think are coming together at the right time. We were doing some ward funded improvements back when it was Farnworth Ward. These were type of the things that we've got coming out of this 350k. These are the types of wishful thinking parts of improvements that we could never have afforded. So when I add the 350k, we've got the Section 106 works that have been going on, and the monies that are coming from the Pride in Place, the Farnworth Board, 90,000 going into the play area and other activities. So I think it's a really apt time that this money contributed to that. And I think what it will do is obviously make the country park in Moses Gate it is the jewel in the crown, I believe. And I think it's sort of taken us even closer to it being a really thriving tourist attraction, but also for local people, like we say, who can't afford to be going out on days out. It's there, it's at your doorstep, it's free, it's open access. Living well in nature, and again for mental health and all them social impacts. It's really really important. The other thing I'd just like to echo some of the points about the well springs. I think there's a little bit of a concern about the fact that we're putting more money into that from a one-off pot. I know that Paul explained that businesses have told us of what they would like to see in order to hopefully move into there. So if that's the explanation, I'm comfortable to take that on board. But it does seem regretful that more one-off capital is going to that one particular location in the town centre. And then finally, Chair, my last point was about CCTV in Queen's Park, as other colleagues have mentioned. Absolutely, I can appreciate the sort of public perception in terms of CCTV. It is the town centre park, and we do want people to be visiting there, of course. I do wonder whether CCTV actually encourages people to be in places after dark. I'm not sure if we want to encourage people into parks after dark, and yeah, I'm a bit puzzled as to the CCTV concept, because then I know we're going to get people saying, well, Farnworth Park is dark, Farnworth Park doesn't need CCTV, and I think it's hard for us then to say as a borough that we're not then looking at the wider public parks in the borough. So a couple of comments, but yeah, I'm really pleased about the Moses Gate Country Park monies. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you. Paul,
So
did you want to come
just
back?
on the Queen's Park, I mean the key bit is we've been working with the police for a couple of years now, and that is one area that they've recommended that we look to invest more money in CCTV. So we're taking the opportunity to to do that as you know, part of the rationale for this funding is to ensure security and provide routes for people, and the town centre is building the number of people that are living in the town centre, and we need to safely provide the routes to Queen's Park that makes people feel safe. So, you know, some of it's down to lighting, but some of it is down to CCTV and ensuring that we make people feel safe, and we're not necessarily promoting the use of the park in the night time. This is about ensuring people feel safe at all times of the day.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Councillor Bamford?
Thank you, Chair. Again, we are putting more money into Queen's Park, and obviously we have got Horwich, we have got Farnworth, we have got West Orton. Planning ahead for if more one-off monies is funded, could we actually look at creating a plan for the rest of the borough? Have a look at the parks, have a look which would be feasible and more for finances and physically possible to put the cameras in for other parks around the borough. So that way then we do have a plan in place, so we can't just keep using the same excuse of this is ready to go now, because if we can be ready to go for all of the parks which are, should we say, in need of CCTV, then we've got all these other plans ready to go. So when the money comes through, we can go, right, let's go to Moses Gate, right, let's go to Station Park, right, let's go to here, let's go to there, rather than just pumping it into the ones that, well, matter to only the few. Would it be possible to do that for the future? So at least then, again, if the one-off funding does come in, we can turn around and say, right, boom, Station Park, we've got your CCTV. Boom, right, Moses Park, we've got your CCTV. Rather than just funneling it into the centre all the time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, happy to take that away. We can obviously work with John Gregory and his team, but also start sequencing the work with the police to look at each of the parks and look at each of the priorities right across the borough. You know, this has come up as a one-off set of funding. There are other funding streams coming through GMCA that we need to start planning for. Last year it was the local authority flexible grant. It will be different from April onwards, and we need to start building capacity for and ideas for that funding as well. But we're yet to find out from GMCA what that funding is going to be focused on. But happy to take away a task to sort of begin to look at all the parks and how each of the parks, what the police assessment of each of the parks is, and what the priorities are.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you. Mr. Dyson?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to sort of build on that point, really, we will be bringing a report to Cabinet week after next, which proposes adoption of our green space strategy. So obviously, with any strategy, we'll then need to build a delivery plan which underpins the strategy. So I think, I guess responding to Councillor Banford's point, but perhaps some of the wider comments as well around investments across the borough. I think the green space strategy will provide the platform on which to do that. I think we have benefited over recent years from various one-off funding, whether that be through specific grants that Paul's alluded to, whether it be dare I say budget amendments, whether it be through Section 106 funding. So I think there is a pot of money that we will be able to, I'm sure, continue to benefit from, albeit the source of that funding might come from different places, as Paul's indicated. But I think probably gazing into the longer term, the green space strategy will give us then the opportunity to build, as I say, a delivery plan, which will prompt the green space team to think about where investments is most needed, having regard to the priorities that we've set out within the plan. And there'll be an opportunity to talk more about, as I say, where that focus will be when we come into Cabinet in a week and a half's time. So I think probably just finally, Chair, just as a wider point, I think some really helpful questions and understandable concern. I think this paper came through the directorate's leadership team, which obviously Paul is a member of as well. And I think, Paul, it would be fair to say that there was a high degree of challenge from the corporate leadership team in terms of the projects, the issues of concern that have been raised by members this evening in relation to ongoing maintenance, and actually the report probably came into our leadership team 2, maybe 3 times before we felt comfortable bringing forward a series of proposals that we felt reflected the indices of deprivation, some of the opportunities that colleagues through cross-council workshops had identified. We have had some engagement which is required with our elected members, our MPs, members for Parliament, again, which enabled us to do some cross-referencing with some of the projects. And of course, we can't satisfy everybody's needs. Ultimately, we have to work to a very, very tight timeline, as the Chair has indicated. But I think there has been a high degree of challenge in order to get to the position that we are in this evening. But certainly the comments are very, very valuable, helpful, reinforce some of our thinking, and I think, as Paul's indicated, also provide opportunities to hopefully bring forward future opportunities that touch and reach into other parts of the borough that haven't necessarily benefited from this particular piece of funding. But thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Dyson. Paul Sanders, Councillor Sanders.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, John, just pricked my memory. I was going to mention about capacity and obviously resources. So I'm assuming, a bit of a stupid question really, but I'm assuming that the teams that will be delivering, let's say, the Rock Hall improvements, the town centre, the lighting, stuff like that, I'm assuming that they're the same teams that are already doing the said work in them locations. And obviously we have got the Section 106 project, which we are waiting for some of our play areas to be done. I'm assuming it's the same neighbourhood services green team that are tasked with it as well.
Yes, it is, but we're going to ensure that the priority for this funding is managed right across. So it's not just the green space team. We'll get other people involved in helping to deliver it. So the regen team, the town centre team, they'll all be involved in making sure that we can deliver this team. Dwayne has you know, lots of staff with experience of helping to deliver stuff. So there will be capacity to make sure that we can deliver this and utilise this funding for the benefit of Bolton and its residents.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, colleagues, for your comments and contributions, and I am happy to approve the report as recommended in the paper. And this concludes the business of the meeting. So I hope you all have a nice evening, and I'll see you at the scrutiny committee if you're there. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Chair. See you later.
Bye.